What if I told you the most powerful weapon the United States has isn't its military, not its nukes, not its aircraft carriers, not even its global bases, but something far more invisible, something that can collapse entire economies without firing a single shot? Because in 2026, America doesn't need to conquer the world. It already controls it in ways most people don't even realize. 2. Global power on paper. The United States is still the most powerful nation on Earth. It spends nearly $900 billion to $1 trillion every year on defense. That's about 37% of global military spending, more than China, Russia, and the rest of the top countries combined in key areas. But raw power isn't what makes the US dominant. It's how that power is positioned globally. The US has around 750-800 military bases across 80 countries, from Japan, Germany, South Korea, to strategic hubs like Chuivarin Wifuri Ati Akuni, Guam, Italy, Bahrain, and the United Kingdom. This isn't defense. This is a global control network. 3. Military is just the surface. Here's the truth. Modern wars aren't fought like before. After Iraq and Afghanistan, the US learned something critical. Occupying countries is expensive, slow, and often fails. So the strategy changed. Instead of controlling land, the US focuses on controlling information finance technology and global systems, because if you control those, you don't need to invade. 4. The dollar weapon. The real power of the United States is the US dollar. Today, around 50% of global reserves are held in dollars. Most international trade uses it. Even countries trading with each other often settle in USD. That means one thing: the US sits at the center of the global economy, and more importantly, it controls the system that moves the money. Through financial networks and sanctions, Washington can freeze foreign reserves, block countries from global banking, shut down imports and trade. We've seen this happen before. Entire economies can collapse in days, currencies crash, banks freeze, supply chains break. No invasion needed. 5. Digital control. And now, this power is getting even stronger. New systems, including digital dollar infrastructure, allow financial control to go beyond governments, directly to companies, and even individuals. This means, even if a country resists politically, its economy can still be pressured from the inside. At the same time, the US is also quietly preparing backups. Gold reserves, exposure to Bitcoin, alternative financial systems, so even if the world tries to move away from the dollar, it won't be easy. 6. Space and information. Dominance. Now let's go even higher. Literally, the United States Space Force is focused on one thing: space superiority, because whoever controls space controls satellites, GPS communication, missile detection, global surveillance systems like satellite networks, and private companies like SpaceX allow the US to track movements worldwide, coordinate military operations instantly, maintain constant global visibility, and even if satellites are destroyed, the US can launch new ones fast. This is real-time global awareness. 7. Nuclear deterrence. Then there's the ultimate Strachowka, nuclear weapons. After the New START Treaty expired in 2026, limits on nuclear arsenals became uncertain. The US still maintains its nuclear triad: land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, strategic bombers, with next-gen systems like the B-21 Raider coming soon. But here's the key: nukes aren't for use, they're for deterrence. They keep other powers from interfering. 8. The big limit. So, if the US is this powerful, why doesn't it just control everything directly? Because there's a hard limit: people. There's a military rule called the Quinlivan ratio. To control a population, you need about 20 soldiers per 1,000 civilians. For a world of 8 billion people, that's 160 million troops. The US has about 1.3 million active personnel. So full occupation? Impossible. Even smaller wars have proven this. Weaker groups using guerrilla tactics can slowly exhaust stronger armies. Technology helps, but it doesn't replace human control. 9. Rising challengers. And then there's resistance. Countries like China, Russia are already working together in key areas: energy trade routes, military tech, financial alternatives. They don't need to defeat the US. They just need to make control too expensive. Groups like BRICS Plus are also creating alternatives to Western systems. Not perfect, but enough to reduce dependence. 10. The real weakness. And finally, the biggest threat to American power isn't external, it's internal. By 2025, U.S. debt reached around $37 trillion. Interest payments are rising. Inflation and borrowing costs increased at the same time. Fewer young people qualify for military service. Recruitment is declining. Public support for war is weaker than before. A long global campaign would strain everything: economy, society, politics, and history shows. When problems start at home, global power collapses fast. 11. Conclusion. Does America control the world? Not by conquering land, but by controlling money systems, technology. And global access power today isn't about flags on territory, it's about influence. And in that game, the United States is still ahead. But for how long? That's the real question.